The Zethar Collective's arrival was nothing short of extraordinary. They didn't appear as towering invaders or shadowy emissaries from the stars. Instead, their bio-cruiser materialized in orbit with an elegance that defied human comprehension, a shimmering construct of light and organic geometry, more alive than mechanical. Their initial message, broadcasted in all major languages, was equally unconventional. They weren't here for conquest or alliances. They were scientists, explorers driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge. And Earth, in their words, was a jewel of unrefined predatory evolution. As an ecologist, I was stunned when the invitation arrived. Among the dozens of experts selected, biologists, zoologists, ecologists, and a smattering of sociologists, I felt profoundly out of place. Yet the Zethar's focus on Earth's biodiversity placed me at the center of what could be the greatest cross-species dialogue in history. The invitation specified their interest: Earth's apex life forms, the pinnacle of predatory success. They sought to understand how creatures on our planet had evolved to dominate their ecosystems. It was clear they weren't just looking for ferocity. They wanted perfection, be it through strategy, strength, or adaptability. Their ship, a luminous cathedral of living matter, welcomed us with an unsettling warmth. As I stepped aboard, the air shimmered with a faint, bioluminescent glow. The walls pulsed gently, as though the ship itself was breathing. The Zethar greeted us in their native form, translucent, ever-shifting beings with appendages fracturing and reforming in mesmerizing fractal patterns. Their communication was a blend of sound, light, and vibration, but through their technology, we could understand them with perfect clarity. The briefing was concise but daunting. "We are here to learn," one of them said, their voice resonating as though several speakers spoke in unison. "Your world's creatures intrigue us. Present to us your apex life forms, the quintessence of survival and domination." The weight of their request was staggering. Earth's ecosystems were vast, interconnected webs of life, each with its own champions of evolution. Choosing a mere handful of species to represent the pinnacle of predatory adaptation felt impossible. Yet, we had no choice. Over the next 24 hours, my colleagues and I debated feverishly. Which creatures would best exemplify Earth's ingenuity? Should we focus on sheer physical power, like that of the great white shark, or consider the deadly beauty of the box jellyfish? What about the silent patience of the saltwater crocodile or the raw resilience of the polar bear? And then, of course, there was humanity. Some argued vehemently against including ourselves, claiming we were too flawed, too reliant on technology, and far too self-destructive to be considered apex. But others, myself included, saw our ingenuity as an undeniable edge. No other species on Earth had so thoroughly dominated its environment, for better or worse. Humanity, I argued, deserved its place among the contenders. By the time we finalized our list, we were exhausted but resolute. We had chosen 5 candidates: the great white shark, the polar bear, the box jellyfish, the saltwater crocodile, and humanity itself. As we prepared to present our findings to the Zethar, a mixture of pride and apprehension settled over me. I couldn't help but wonder how these alien minds, so unbound by human biases, would judge the creatures we had chosen to represent our world. The Zethar observation chamber was unlike anything I had ever seen. A space so alien and mesmerizing that it was difficult to tell where the physical boundaries ended and the projections began. The walls shimmered with dynamic fractals, shifting in time with the rhythmic hum that resonated softly through the air. It felt alive, as though the chamber itself was observing us in return. In the center of the space, an enormous holographic display flickered to life, ready to showcase Earth's apex creatures in vivid, three-dimensional detail. I took a deep breath and stepped forward to begin the presentation. The great white shark was our first candidate, a creature I had chosen deliberately to set the tone. Few animals inspired such universal awe and fear, their reputations cemented as the rulers of the ocean. With a gesture, the holographic display brought the shark to life, its sleek body gliding silently through an illusory sea. "This is the great white shark," I began, my voice steady but tinged with nervous energy. It is an apex predator in nearly every ocean it inhabits, perfectly adapted for its environment. Its streamlined body allows it to reach speeds of up to 35 miles per hour in short bursts, and its jaws are lined with serrated teeth capable of tearing through flesh and bone with ease. The Zethar listened, or perhaps observed with their usual unsettling stillness. Their fractal appendages glimmered faintly, pulsating in patterns that seemed to reflect thought or communication. I pressed on, describing the shark's extraordinary sensory adaptations. Its sense of smell is so acute that it can detect a single drop of blood in millions of gallons of water. It also possesses electroreceptors, enabling it to sense the faint electric fields generated by the muscles of prey. Combined, these traits make it one of the most efficient hunters in the animal kingdom. As I spoke, the hologram shifted, displaying a dramatic hunt. A seal darted through the water, only to be ambushed in a lightning-fast strike. The Zethar pulsed more brightly at this display, their shimmering forms now glowing in overlapping hues. Efficient, one of them finally said, their voice resonating like overlapping chords. But bound to its domain. The oceans are vast, yet finite. Its lethality is constrained by the medium it inhabits. I faltered for a moment, caught off guard by their response. That's true, I admitted, trying to steady my thoughts. But within that domain, it is unparalleled. The shark has no natural predators once it reaches adulthood. Its role as an apex predator maintains the balance of marine ecosystems. The Zethar seemed to deliberate, their fractal appendages curling and unfurling in rhythmic waves. After a pause, one of them spoke again. Its specialization is both its strength and its limitation. A remarkable specimen of Earth's design, but it cannot transcend its environment. Their words left me unsettled. I hadn't expected this perspective, this almost clinical dismissal of what I had always considered a masterpiece of evolution. As the great white shark's hologram faded into nothingness, I realized that this wasn't going to be a simple exercise in admiration. The Zethar weren't here to marvel at our apex creatures, they were here to judge them by standards we couldn't yet comprehend. The next candidate was the polar bear. As the hologram shimmered to life, the image of a massive, snow-dusted bear appeared, standing atop an icy ridge. Its fur, dense and white, seemed to glow under the simulated Arctic sun, while its black nose and eyes stood out in sharp contrast. The bear sniffed the air, scanning for prey with an intensity that belied its lethargic grace. This, I began, gesturing to the bear, is the polar bear, the apex predator of the Arctic. It is the largest land carnivore on Earth, with adult males weighing over 1,000 pounds. They are built for survival in one of the most inhospitable environments on the planet. The Zethar observed in silence, their translucent forms flickering faintly. The chamber's light dimmed as the hologram shifted, showing the bear stalking across a vast expanse of ice, each step deliberate and calculated. The polar bear's strength is unmatched, I continued. It can take down prey as large as a walrus or even a beluga whale. Its powerful sense of smell allows it to detect a seal beneath 3 feet of solid ice, or from miles away across open tundra. It relies on stealth and patience, often waiting for hours by a seal's breathing hole to ambush its prey. The scene shifted again, displaying the bear plunging through ice to capture a seal. The simulated water exploded in a frenzy of movement as the bear's jaws clamped down, dragging its prey onto the frozen surface. The Zethar pulsed with a subtle, rhythmic light, as if in contemplation. It thrives in conditions where few others can survive, I said, hoping to impress them. Its thick fur and a layer of insulating fat protect it from temperatures that would kill most creatures. Even its feet are adapted, with rough pads that provide traction on ice. It is a perfect predator for its environment. One of the Zethar finally spoke, their voice a harmonious blend of tones. This creature exhibits remarkable specialization, yet its survival is inextricably tied to the conditions of its habitat. Without ice, it becomes vulnerable. I paused, taken aback by the simplicity of their observation. That's true, I admitted. The polar bear's existence is deeply connected to the Arctic ecosystem. But that dependency is also a testament to its evolutionary success. It has thrived there for thousands of years. Success, another Zethar echoed, their fractal appendages curling into intricate patterns, is fleeting when it hinges upon external stability. This creature's prowess is impressive, but its adaptability is minimal. When its environment changes, as all environments do, it will falter. Their assessment hung in the air, stark and unyielding. I wanted to argue, to defend the polar bear's magnificence, but their perspective gnawed at me. They weren't wrong. The polar bear's brilliance as a predator was also its greatest vulnerability. The hologram shifted once more, showing a mother bear and her cubs trekking across thinning ice, searching for food. The scene was poignant, even haunting, and I wondered if the Zethar grasped the subtle tragedy of it. Perhaps its reliance on a singular habitat is a limitation, I said carefully. But in its domain, the polar bear reigns supreme. Isn't mastery of one's environment a valid form of dominance? The Zethar pulsed in unison, their collective glow growing brighter for a moment. Mastery, one of them said, is transient when tethered to fragility. This creature exemplifies resilience but not permanence. As the image of the polar bear dissolved into nothingness, I felt a pang of frustration. To me, the bear represented raw power and adaptation in the face of extreme adversity. To the Zethar, it was simply another example of life's fleeting triumph against inevitable change. Their standards were not just alien, they were impossibly high, rooted in a perspective that viewed evolution not as a series of victories but as a continual race against obsolescence. I took a deep breath, trying to focus as I prepared to introduce the next creature. The polar bear's story had felt personal, a symbol of the precarious beauty of life on Earth. Yet to the Zethar, it was merely another data point in their vast, unfathomable study. The chamber dimmed again, and I gestured for the next candidate to appear. From the center of the space, the hologram coalesced into the form of a translucent, pulsating creature drifting gently through a simulated ocean. Its delicate, trailing tentacles swayed in an unseen current, glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. This was the box jellyfish, a creature whose unassuming appearance masked a lethality unmatched in its realm. This is the box jellyfish, I began, feeling a renewed sense of confidence. It is one of the most venomous creatures on Earth. A single sting can kill a human in minutes, and its venom is potent enough to bring down larger animals. Death is swift and agonizing, caused by cardiac arrest or respiratory failure. Few predators would dare challenge it. The Zethar shimmered faintly as they observed, their fractal appendages undulating in a way that suggested intrigue. The hologram shifted, now displaying the jellyfish in motion. It pulsed rhythmically, propelling itself through the water with an eerie grace. The box jellyfish is not just a passive drifter, I continued. It has rudimentary eyes, clusters of them that allow it to detect shapes and light. It actively hunts its prey, typically small fish or crustaceans, using its venomous tentacles to immobilize them. The tentacles themselves are lined with nematocysts, tiny harpoons that deliver venom upon contact. It is both beautiful and deadly. The Zethar pulsed more brightly, their shifting forms becoming more complex. This creature is efficient in its lethality, one of them said. Its design is elegant in its simplicity, yet its scope is limited. Its hunting strategy relies entirely on proximity and chance. Does it pursue its prey across distances or plan its attacks? No, I admitted, though I tried to frame it positively. The box jellyfish doesn't need to pursue prey in the way a shark or a bear might. Its venom and tentacles are sufficient to ensure survival in its habitat. It is an opportunistic predator, thriving in a specific niche. The Zethar seemed to deliberate, their light patterns shifting in a mesmerizing display. Its lethality is reactive, one finally said, their tone neutral. It does not dominate its environment but waits for the environment to bring prey within reach. This suggests a reliance on circumstance rather than intent. Effective, but passive. I bristled slightly at their words. To me, the box jellyfish's design was a marvel of evolution, a perfect balance of simplicity and deadly precision. But the Zythar's perspective made me reconsider. They seemed to value agency, the ability to actively shape or control one's circumstances, as a hallmark of true apex dominance. The hologram changed again, now showing the aftermath of a jellyfish sting a school of fish floating lifelessly in the water. The Zythar observed in silence, their forms dimming slightly as they processed the scene. "This creature embodies the power of toxicity," one of them said after a long pause. "Yet it is bound by the currents and cannot assert control over its environment. Its lethality is undeniable, but its scope is narrow." As the projection faded, I felt an unease settle over me. The box jellyfish, so formidable in its realm, had been reduced to a creature of circumstantial success in the Zythar's eyes. Their judgment was clear. They sought not just power but autonomy and adaptability, qualities that this fragile, floating killer lacked. I steeled myself for the next presentation, wondering if any of Earth's apex creatures would truly meet their impossible standards. The room brightened slightly as I prepared for the next presentation. With emotion, the hologram shifted and a new figure emerged. This time it was the saltwater crocodile, its powerful, scaled body half submerged in simulated water. Its eyes, cold and calculating, peered above the surface, as if already stalking prey. Even in holographic form, it exuded a primal menace, a predator that had survived for millions of years with little need for change. "This is the saltwater crocodile," I said, my voice firm as I began. "It is the largest reptilian predator on Earth, capable of growing over 20 feet long and weighing more than a ton. This creature has ruled the waters of rivers, estuaries, and coastal regions for over 200 million years, outliving countless other species that have come and gone." The Zythar's light patterns flickered faintly as they studied the crocodile. Its form was ancient, almost otherworldly, and yet undeniably earthbound. The hologram shifted, showing the crocodile waiting motionless beneath the surface of the water, its camouflage nearly perfect. "Patience and stealth are its greatest weapons," I continued. "The crocodile is an ambush predator, capable of remaining submerged for hours, waiting for the precise moment to strike. Its jaws are among the most powerful in the animal kingdom, exerting thousands of pounds of pressure per square inch. Once it clamps down, escape is almost impossible." The hologram demonstrated, showing the crocodile exploding from the water in a flash of movement. It seized a wildebeest at a riverbank, pulling it into the water with terrifying force. The Zythar pulsed brighter at the display, their appendages curling and uncurling rapidly. "Remarkable power," one of them said, their tone carrying an edge of approval. "This creature's strength and strategy are evident. Its methods are direct and effective. Yet it relies heavily on concealment and the element of surprise. Does it not engage in prolonged pursuit or adapt to prey that eludes it?" "No," I admitted, though I felt the need to defend the crocodile's approach. "It doesn't need to. Its entire strategy revolves around efficiency. The crocodile expends minimal energy while waiting for its prey and strikes only when the odds are overwhelmingly in its favor." The Zythar hummed softly, their forms flickering in muted patterns. "Its success is undeniable within its niche," one of them said. "But it is a creature of instinct, not innovation. Its reliance on ancient methods suggests stagnation rather than advancement. Does this species exhibit behavioral evolution or environmental adaptability?" I hesitated. "Not in the way humans might define it," I admitted. "But its longevity and lack of change are themselves a kind of success. It has survived multiple mass extinctions, thriving while other species perished. Isn't resilience a form of apex dominance?" The Zythar were silent for a long moment, their fractal forms shifting subtly. Finally, one of them spoke. "Resilience is admirable, but stagnation is vulnerability. A predator that does not innovate risks obsolescence when conditions shift." This creature is powerful, but it is bound to a method that has not changed in millennia. As the hologram faded, I couldn't help but feel a pang of frustration. To me, the saltwater crocodile represented the apex of endurance, a living relic that had conquered time itself. But to the Zythar, it was merely a relic, a creature locked in an ancient design, unprepared for the future's inevitable changes. Their judgment was dispassionate, almost clinical, and I began to understand how differently they viewed survival. It wasn't just about dominance, it was about transformation. I took a steadying breath as the hologram shifted once more, this time displaying a figure far removed from the primal power of the previous candidates. It was a human. The projection began with a solitary figure standing on a barren plain, dressed simply, holding a sharpened stone. As the scene unfolded, the figure morphed, changing subtly through time. Fur garments gave way to woven cloth, the sharpened stone became a spear, then a bow, then a rifle. The plain transformed, first into fields, then villages, and finally sprawling cities of steel and glass. This, I began, my voice tight with the weight of what I was about to say, is humanity. We are the apex predator of our planet. Not because of physical strength, not because of venom or stealth, but because of our unparalleled ability to adapt, innovate, and dominate. The Zethar shimmered faintly, their forms quiet and subdued. They seemed to sense that this presentation was different from the others. This wasn't just a display of another species, this was a declaration of the collective ingenuity of my kind. Unlike the other creatures I've shown you, humans are not bound by a single environment or method of survival. We lack claws, fangs, or natural armor. Yet we have thrived in nearly every corner of the planet, from frozen tundras to arid deserts, dense jungles to vast oceans. Our strength lies not in what nature has given us, but in what we've created ourselves. The hologram shifted, showing ancient humans building fires, crafting tools, and hunting in groups. It then transitioned to scenes of agriculture, cities rising from the ground, and ships crossing oceans. The Zethar pulsed faintly, their fractal appendages curling in patterns that suggested contemplation. Our tools and technologies have allowed us to transcend the limitations of our physical forms, I continued. We have shaped the environment to suit our needs rather than adapting passively to it. Through cooperation and intelligence, we have hunted creatures far larger and stronger than ourselves. We have tamed fire, harnessed the wind, and even ventured beyond our planet into the stars. The hologram displayed iconic human achievements: the pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, the moon landing. The Zythar's light patterns grew brighter, their forms shifting more rapidly. But with this power, I said, my voice softening, comes a profound duality. We are also the only species capable of destroying what we create. Our dominance has come at a cost to the environment, to other species, and often to ourselves. We are both creators and destroyers, a paradox that defines our existence. The Zithar spoke at last, their voices resonating with an almost somber tone. Your species is unique, one of them said. It wields power not of its body but of its mind. Yet this power is unchecked, driven by impulses that often defy the balance of life. You transcend your limitations, but at what cost to your world? The question struck a chord. I glanced at the hologram, now displaying images of deforestation, polluted oceans, and overcrowded cities. That's true, I admitted. We've made mistakes, many of them. But our capacity for change is also unparalleled. We learn, adapt, and strive to do better. That is our strength, even in our failures. The Zethar were silent for a long time, their forms flickering with muted hues. Finally, one of them spoke, their tone carrying a hint of something I couldn't quite place. Was it curiosity? Or perhaps something closer to hope? Your kind is an anomaly, they said. Neither bound by instinct nor confined to singular purpose. Your potential is limitless, yet precarious. Among all we have observed, you're both the most promising and the most volatile. The hologram faded, leaving the chamber in an uneasy quiet. I stood there, wrestling with their words. Humanity had always seen itself as exceptional, but hearing it confirmed by beings from beyond the stars felt oddly disconcerting. The Zethar's judgment wasn't one of superiority or inferiority, it was one of uncertainty, a reflection of humanity's precarious place in the web of life. The chamber fell silent after the human hologram dissolved, leaving only the faint hum of the Zethar's shifting forms. Their fractal appendages curled and unfurled in intricate patterns, communicating thoughts and ideas far too complex for me to fully grasp. I waited, uneasy under their collective gaze, feeling the weight of their deliberation. This was the moment I had dreaded and anticipated in equal measure their final judgment. "You have shown us much," one of them finally said, their voice resonating like a chime carried on a distant wind. "Your world is rich with predators of remarkable design, each an apex within its domain. Yet none have escaped the constraints of their nature. Even your kind, for all its ingenuity, remains tethered to the precarious balance of its world. Tell us, Earth Envoy, what do you believe defines true dominance?" The question caught me off guard. I had prepared facts and observations, but I hadn't expected to be asked to justify our place among Earth's creatures. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. Dominance, I said slowly, isn't just about physical strength or lethality. It's about the ability to endure, to adapt, and to shape one's destiny. Each of the creatures I've shown you embodies a facet of that. The shark commands the oceans. The polar bear thrives in extremes. The crocodile endures through time, and the jellyfish wields its lethality with simplicity. Humanity. We strive to overcome every limitation, sometimes to our own detriment. Together, they paint a picture of what survival means on Earth. The Zethar pulsed with faint light, their forms shifting in unison. And yet, another said, their tone carrying a hint of challenge, dominance, as you define it, is fleeting. The shark's mastery falters in poisoned waters. The polar bear succumbs to the vanishing ice. The crocodile's strength becomes irrelevant against forces it cannot comprehend. Even humanity, with all its power, is vulnerable to its own excesses. Is there no creature on your world that transcends these limitations? I hesitated, their words slicing through my confidence. They weren't wrong. Every apex creature I had presented, even humanity, was bound by some weakness, some vulnerability that tethered it to the whims of nature or its own design. For a moment I felt a pang of despair, as though Earth had failed their test. But then it struck me an idea so simple and profound that I couldn't help but smile. "There's one," I said, my voice firm. "It isn't a single species, nor a single predator. It's life itself. Life on Earth has endured through cataclysms, extinctions, and upheavals that reshape the planet. When one species falters, another rises. When environments change, life adapts. It is the resilience of the collective, the interconnected web of ecosystems, that defines true dominance. No single creature stands alone together. They create a force that has outlasted every disaster this planet has faced." The Zethar were silent for a long time, their shimmering forms growing still. Then one of them spoke, their tone softer, almost reverent. "Life as a whole," they said, "an interconnected tapestry of adaptation and persistence. This perspective is unexpected. It is not dominance of the individual, but the collective, that you offer as the pinnacle of your world's achievements." "Yes," I said, the conviction in my voice growing. "A single species can rise and fall, but life itself endures. It evolves, learns, and thrives in ways that no singular entity ever could. That is the essence of Earth." The Zethar pulsed brighter, their forms shifting into patterns so complex they were almost hypnotic. "Your understanding is limited by your perspective," one of them said. "Yet within this limitation, you have glimpsed a truth that resonates beyond your world. Life, in its myriad forms, is the most profound force we have observed." The chamber dimmed as their fractal appendages stilled. "Your presentation has concluded," they said. "Earth's creatures and your kind have been judged. There is wisdom in your perspective, though your world remains fragile. Nurture this fragility, earth envoy, for within it lies a strength that even we must respect. As the holographic chamber dissolved and the Zithar retreated into their inscrutable forms, I stood there, overwhelmed. Their judgment was neither triumph nor condemnation. It was a challenge, a call to embrace the interconnectedness of life and to protect the fragile balance that sustained it. I left the chamber not with answers, but with a newfound understanding of my planet's place in the cosmos and the profound responsibility that came with it.